Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the In the 11 podcast. I am your host, Brendan Griffiths, and this is the show where we bring on those from the world of football to show you what it takes to be in the 11 at the highest possible level. This week's episode features what many would describe as a journeyman in the game of football. He has been a professional for many years and has bounced all around the United States from NPSL to NISA to USL in its early stages. He's got tons of good stories and tons of good insight into what it takes to be a pro and stay a pro for a long period of time, which is what we always talk about on here. Not just how to become a pro, but also how to stay a pro and how to keep your career going, keep your career flourishing. So I want to get right into that chat because it's definitely a good one. The only thing I'll ask you here at the top is to whatever platform you're listening to or watching on, if you can subscribe to the show, really helps the show grow. I would greatly appreciate that. Without further ado, here is my chat with Cam Vickers.
All right. Stepping into the 11 now with us is, I talk about a lot the reason why I do this podcast, and I think it's part of it is to share the journeyman stories of professional players. And I think our next guest has probably one of the most journeyman stories I think I've ever seen in doing some of my research. And he's coming to us currently from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I'm really looking forward to sharing his story to all of you listeners out there. First of all, Cam, thank you so much for joining us and for stepping in the 11. And secondly, what do you think about that idea of being a journeyman footballer? Is it something that you kind of enjoy, or is it a hardship at certain points?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I always like, to be able to jump on and talk a little about my story and kind of the crazy journey. But yeah, journeyman's definitely a good word to describe me. Kind of been all over the place. No, it's cool. I mean, I think it kind of comes with the territory a little bit, to be honest with you. Um, the USL has grown so much over the years, and obviously, with growth, there's always growing pains, right? So I was kind of in the mix of that, and I got to see some really cool cities, meet some unbelievable people, play for some great coaches and some organizations. So, yeah, it's I guess every footballer's dream is to really find that one club and hopefully, be there for your full career. But there's definitely that other side of it that you just kind of grind in and continuing to try and find that perfect spot for you. So, I guess that's the category I fall into. So.
Yeah. Yeah. If we walk through some of those steps, I think maybe we can go back to maybe college to start with, right? You found yourself at the Division II level for college. Kind of talk to me about how you wound up choosing the college that you chose and what factored into that decision.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I was definitely, I think, a late bloomer for the club world. I was always on a really good team. I played, for Crossfire Premier, which is a big club out of Seattle, Washington, and we were nationally ranked, for my age. But I think it was a team where so many amazing players, like just unbelievable talent on that team, and I was definitely good enough to play on the team and, be a starter towards the end. But I don't think I was ever really anyone that was like, I was good, but it wasn't someone like, wow, look at that guy, and it wasn't really until college where I kind of got that factor a little bit in my career. And so, going through the recruiting, I mean, I definitely, I had D1 offers from different places, and ultimately, I chose, Cal State Sonoma because of the coaching staff. I mean, they had me on a visit and honestly just blew me away. I mean, they're very European in how they organize, how they play, how they attack the game of football, and Marcus Zimmer and Benjamin Zimmer. I mean, oh my gosh, if I didn't play for them, I don't think I would have ever played a day pro. So I learned so much in that organization, and they really gave me the platform to kind of just give me the green light and to be a player that can take chances and can go try things. And yeah, I mean, I really owe everything to them, to be honest.
So you might have just answered my next question for me, but was that maybe then the inspiration that led you to deciding to go and pursue the game at the professional level? Because I think at the time when you're coming out of college, you've already mentioned it a little bit, the lower league system is still kind of finding its footing and still kind of figuring out where it fits in the pyramid and how a league is supposed to be structured. And that, had a trickle down effect onto players looking at the league structure and not really knowing how to navigate it. So what was that process like for you, finishing up college and then, wanting to go and pursue a professional career?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, going into college, I mean, since I was a kid, like it was pro or nothing, you know what I mean? And so college really didn't accelerate that process or deter it in any way. It was, I didn't care what hurdles I had to go through, what I had to do to get to the professional level. I was going to do it no matter what. And when going to Sonoma State, just based on, the learning that was going on and the style of football, I felt like that was the best way to get me to the next level. Ultimately, I had a tough decision to make after 3 years there. The hope was to get, into the MLS. And so I was of the impression that, if I was to get to that point, I needed to be at a Division I school. And so I had left Sonoma State and was trying to go to University of Washington for my last year because that's home for me, and they're a big school and really successful. And unfortunately, credits didn't transfer, and I was looking at a potential year to sit out of college before I could play my last year. And I just chose that the path for me was just to try and go pro and just to try and, get out there and try and figure out what that looked like. You know what I mean? There wasn't really a direct path like there is now. There wasn't the academies, there wasn't, the USL was the wild west at that point, so you just tried to, hope to latch on somewhere. Fortunately, I think Seattle's a really rich soccer area. And so I've known, a lot of older players, coaches, friends that have bounced around the NASL and the USL and stuff like that. And so I had a good knowledge about it. But really it was just like, just jumping off, that branch and just hoping that you catch something on the way down type of deal. So yeah, so it was kind of crazy, but it was the decision that I felt was best for me based on the goals that I had. So.
So I think, I kind of have a bit of a picture of what your stops might have looked like along the way, but I'm sure there's ones that you can help kind of shade in between the lines for us. That process that you mentioned of graduating and then kind of taking a leap and seeing what you can catch on the way down. Is that process for you? Is that going and reaching out to clubs directly? Is that going to open trials, or is that kind of maybe using your network to say, hey, who can I maybe leverage to see if I can get into a preseason or on trial with a club?
All of the above, honestly.
Yeah.
I did all of it. I was, oh my goodness. I went to open tryouts. I was on, trial. I was asking friends, asking coaches, talking to agents, anyone, like any way I could get through the door, I would do it. And so, yeah, I went to open tryouts all over the country. I went to, I had friends who, were at different clubs and trial. And yeah, it was a crazy time. Like it is it's definitely something you have to be more mentally prepared for, in all honesty, because it just takes you on some crazy, peaks and valleys. But ultimately it was worth it. I knew that, regardless of how many no's I got, like I was going to keep, knocking on the door until I broke the door down. So, but it, needless to say, it was definitely a crazy time for sure. A lot of traveling, a lot of sleeping on couches,
Mm.
all that kind of stuff. So
That couch surfing period and going from place to place and open trials, which I know you could probably speak of too, are a beast within and of themselves. How
yeah.
much of that is mental and how much of it actually is how talented you are as a footballer? What would you say kind of the ratio is?
Oh man. I mean, I feel like, so if you ask anyone that's played at any type of professional level, I mean, there's so many players that are good enough to play at the professional level.
Mhm.
If you've asked anyone that's, played even college or at a good youth level, there's just so much talent. And so, definitely, you have to be at a certain level to play, professional, no question. And it's an elite category, but for me, I think it's in my opinion, it's majority of mental because it's not, once you get to that elite, you know, part of the game, it's what am I willing to sacrifice that they're not, or what am I willing to do that they're not? Like, am I gonna miss out on weddings? Am I going, so I could stay home and train? Am I gonna, not go out at night, with friends and wake up early and go and do your weightlifting or your running or your training or what have you? And so for me, it's I would say 80% mental. I mean, obviously, I think once you get to that certain elite level, I think it's what you're willing to go through and sacrifice to continue to open those doors and kick down doors if you have to. So
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I would harp on the same thing that you just said, that it comes down to, are you willing to just keep knocking on door after door and maybe try and break down a couple doors until you can show up? Because there's a lot
yeah,
of players. I wondered if there's a lot of players who were just maybe one or two doors away from a couple knocks and their opportunity was right on the other side of it, but it got too difficult for them. Was there ever a moment
yeah.
like that for you where you looked at it and thought, I don't know, should I keep knocking on another door?
He said so many times, so many times. Man, I mean, my career is has really been a good one. And there's always those moments, and especially I think as you get older as a player, I mean, there's a lot of things that pull you in different directions, other careers, family, wife, that kind of thing. And so there's always those thoughts in your head. It's just like, am I doing the right thing? Is that door ever going to open? That type of deal. And I think for me personally, it's about being able to have that peace within yourself. You know what I mean? And know, going forward, once you decide to hang them up, that you have that satisfaction with your career. And some people get that in a year. Some people get that in 10 years. You know what I mean? It's kind of different for everyone. And so if the longer you prolong your career, the more you get that question of like, okay, like, do I want to do another off season grind? Like, do I want to go on trial again? Do I want to like fight for, that opportunity? And yeah, I think anyone that's, kind of been at this for a while, I think that thought is always going to creep in your head, but it just comes to a point where, does your desire to put your best football out there outweigh those nagging kind of thoughts? So,
Yeah. So where was the first opportunity for you where you felt like you knocked on the door and kind of were able to crack that door open a little bit?
yeah, I mean, Portland Timbers was kind of my first stop. So right when I kind of, decided that I wasn't gonna, hold out a year at UW, I had to try and figure out the next step. And so, um, so I started, trying to speak to different agents and go to combines and just try and figure it out. And I ended up going to a combine, and the assistant at the time, Amos McGee, he was the assistant at Portland Timbers, and he was there at the combine. And at the combine, they had certain coaches that would coach your kind of little combine team throughout the week or whatever. And so he, yeah, he really liked me throughout the combine and kept in touch with me. And so I was, doing other things, going to, different open tryouts throughout the USL. And yeah, I got a phone call from him, and he's like, "Hey, listen," because back then they had MLS Reserve League, so it was like a whole separate league from the first team, kind of. So if you were in the first team and you played like 45 minutes or less, the next morning you would play that same team in the reserve league, which had like standings and all that kind of thing, and yeah, and you'd get like a full 90 minutes and whatnot. And so he's like, "Hey, listen," just called me out of the blue and was like, "Hey, we're playing Seattle." And obviously I was from Seattle, and he's like, "We actually are a couple guys short. Like, would you be interested in playing in the game tomorrow night?" And I was like, yes, I would." So
Yeah.
it was, and so I went in and I played well, and I got in the game and did well, and he was really happy with me. And so he spoke to the U23s coach, Portland Timbers U23s coach, Jim Rylett, who was a great guy and still speak to this day. And so I played for the U23s through the season, and I kind of was doing a double duty. So I was playing with the U23s and with the reserves. And then finally throughout the summer, they brought me up and trained full time with the first team and kind of finished the rest of the season there. And it was just a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I have to imagine that must feel incredible to be grinding away, doing all the dirty work behind the scenes, and then cut to now you're training in MLS side, training with first team guys
Yeah.
who've gone on to have, I'm sure, incredible MLS careers. What was that environment like for you to be a part of day in and day out?
Oh, it was incredible. It was incredible. I mean, I got to play with, Darlington Nagbe, who is just, out of this world talented, and, a bunch of different guys, Chris Boyd, who's, the all-time Scottish Premier League leading goal scorer. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just to be in the locker room with those guys and train with them every day, was amazing. You know what I mean? And to be, a part of that, you know what I mean? And I think I've always been better in a situation where, I'm kind of at the bottom of the totem pole, if you will, and trying to, grind my way up, and to be a young player, in that locker room, and on the field with those guys was super invaluable to me. It was, I really enjoyed my time there. It was just kind of, unfortunately, it was wrong place, wrong time. I didn't even get to play for the head coach there. He unfortunately was let go, and so the general manager at the time, Gavin Wilkinson, was the interim head coach, and so he let us out the rest of the way. And we struggled throughout the season. We weren't in the greatest of form, and we ended pretty poorly. And it was a situation where they're bringing in Caleb Porter for that next season, and we went home at the end of the season around the beginning of November, and he wasn't going to come into December. So ultimately, he had the call of who he's going to bring in for next year, and me being kind of, like I said, one of the lower guys on the totem pole, it just wasn't the right opportunity there. But that's football, and but no, it was. I mean, I love Portland. Like, it was just an amazing experience, and a lot of the guys on that team were just super good to me, and took care of me, and really, I think, helped me grow in a lot of ways.
You bring up a really interesting point about being on the low end of the totem pole, because I think for a lot of players, it's a position they don't want to be in training, right?
Right.
No one, well, I shouldn't say no one, but a lot of players don't like to be the worst player in training, because it's not fun. It's not fun to look around and not feel like you can compete at the level that you want to. What advice would you give to
Right.
players that are maybe in a situation like that right now, where they're kind of on the lower end? If guys are picking teams, they're the one that's getting picked last. Like, what's something you learned from that situation?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just something where I was not necessarily used to, but when I was growing up in my youth career, it was just like, oh, he's too small, he's too small, he's too small, all this and that. And so, that always kind of put that chip on my shoulder a little bit. It always kind of fueled my fire a little bit. And so, it gave me, this desire to just want to get thrown in the deep end and want to show everybody, you know what I mean? And I think, you know, um, being in those environments where, you know, for lack of a better words, you might be out of your depth, or, again, you're fighting for that last spot type of deal. Um, it really can lay the the platform for who you are as a person and how you are as a professional. You know what I mean? It's like, because you only have two roads to go. You can either accept where you are and just try and live out the opportunity, or you can do extra. You can find a way to change your circumstance. And for me, that was all I knew. That was all I knew. And so I liked being put in that situation, because it kind of just fueled my natural fire. Like, I'm always a guy that does extra work, and that will, you know, um, want to surpass where I started. And
Hmm.
so, in that situation, like, I love that. I love to be, the underdog, if you will. Like, it just, it puts me in a space, mentally, of like, I'm just going to show everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to
Yeah.
outwork everybody, and I'm going to find a way to, get into, you know, get into that 11, get into, whatever that looks like. And I think, that was something that throughout, through time, in with Portland, like, is exactly what happened. I came in, and, I was getting, time with the reserves, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. And then by the end, I was starting, and I was getting significant minutes, and then contributing, getting assists and doing that kind of thing. And so it was something that, like, I like to be in those positions.
So what was your bounce back process like after, as you mentioned there, kind of wrong place, wrong time as the season came to a conclusion? What was your bounce back process, and where did you find yourself next after your stint in Portland?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was heartbreaking, of course, because it was the Pacific Northwest. It was just the ideal place for me, and to not get a spot in preseason was tough, but it's like the game doesn't feel bad for you,
Mm.
it keeps on going. So it's just like, you got to just take it, understand that, it it's just, you have to pivot. You have to continue to go if that's what you want to do. And so, um, actually, coincidentally, the University of Washington coach that I was supposed to go play for, Jamie Clark, actually got me in touch with my next team, which was Phoenix FC, which is now Phoenix Rising.
Mm.
And so, he got me into preseason there. He made a phone call. He knew the coach there at the time, and made a phone call and got me into preseason, and ended up doing well, and signing with them for the inaugural season. Yeah, in the USL Pro. So
So this was at the time when it was USL Pro, right? So there was MLS and
yeah,
then USL Pro.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. And it was one season that you spent in Phoenix?
I did. Well, so that season, like I said, it was the inaugural season, brand new team, and again, the USL had been around, but obviously, it was still growing. Organizations that were new, had to kind of learn on the fly. And unfortunately, we were one of those teams. And so we ran into some financial trouble. And unfortunately, the team folded, and then rebranded as Arizona United. So I played for Phoenix FC. The team went under, and then I went to play for Dayton Dutch Lions in the USL Pro, and then ended up coming back to Arizona, but under a different franchise, so under Arizona United.
How do those things have an impact on the players that are going in day out to training when you have this brand new league that is trying to find its footing and trying to establish itself? On top of that, you have brand new teams as well that are trying to establish themselves. what's like the trickle down effect of a player? Are there things that we might not know as an outsider of how it might be a little bit more challenging to go into, a work environment like that?
Yeah, it's crazy, to be honest with you. Like it definitely takes its toll, you know what I mean? Because, sometimes, when you're with clubs and stuff and they run into some struggles and things like that, it's like, you kind of see the writing on the wall,
Mm,
sometimes, and it's just like a job like anything else, like being a footballer is just like being an accountant or anything else. It's like it's your life, it's your security, it's how you pay your bills and things like that. So, when you see your company essentially looking to pivot, or things might not be going so well, it's like it's tough. It's tough. It wears on you, and like the mental part of it comes into play massively because, um, unfortunately, I've been on teams that have folded quite a bit. I've been on like three or four, unfortunately.
wow.
So it's definitely a really tough situation. Like it's a tough place to be, as a player, for sure. You're trying to do your best just to perform on the field because ultimately that's your job and that's your goal. But when you have all these, you know, outside factors that are coming in, am I going to be here? Is the club going to be here? Am I going to get paid? Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. It can
Yeah.
be pretty heavy. So it's definitely tough. It's definitely tough for sure.
Yeah, I was one thing I was going to ask you because I know I've heard that from other players as well, that sometimes that can get into a bit of a tricky situation where I'm sure obviously the overall looming idea of what's my next season after this going to look like, because it doesn't look like this team is going to be around for much longer, but then also the idea of, is my next paycheck going to come in? What about the paycheck after that? Like, that's a really tough spot to be in. As we use that comparison towards another job, I think it would be really, you'd be hard pressed to find a lot of people in their line of work that if you said to them, "Hey, yeah, keep showing up to work, but you might not get paid," I think a lot of people would look at you with a bit of a side eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no question, no question. It does bring up crazy anxiety. There's no doubt about it, and you know, um, I think the majority of us that have played in the USL and even MLS. I think it's better now, but we're not doing it for the paycheck necessarily. I mean, obviously, you need the necessities to live and
Mm,
to pay whatever, bills that you have. But I think, for a lot of us, we do it because, we love the game. You know what I mean? And to be a professional is a dream. You know what I mean? Regardless if you're getting paid $1 or, a million. It's but I definitely, real life does come into play. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like bills are going to come no matter what. So it's like you're just like, when you get into situations like that, it's just like it can be pretty heavy.
yeah. So have you as you have been in these situations where you've been on teams that have had success, you've also seen the flip side of it where teams have gone on to fold. What do you think? What are some of the things you notice about the teams that are run really well and have successful franchises, or the ones that you kind of get in there and you're like, something feels off about this? Like if you're the GM of a club or an owner of a club, what are some of the things that you're going to try and steer clear of, or make sure you have as part of your culture?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't envy GMs at all. I mean, their job is just thankless, and it's a tough, tough thing to do. And I think, owners and GMs and coaches, like, they don't get enough credit because, being in the USL and different professional leagues, it's just it's a scary thing. I have so much respect for all of them and the work that they do, but I think um, you know I think a lot of teams, especially new teams that come into leagues, I feel like they don't anticipate the financial impact sometimes of what having a professional team is. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think the teams that come in and understand, like, okay, we want to come in with this amount, and then if we end up having to spend this, then great. You know what I mean? But I think the teams that look to come in and say, okay, well, let's try and cut cut corners like a little bit here and a little bit here, and we'll try and go in this way is I think can be, you know, a little bit, of a tough path. And obviously it's easier said than done because it is a really tough industry. It does take a lot of financial backing to make things successful. But aside from that, I think, it does take, a good, a really good balanced amongst, the work environment. I think, a little goes a long way, I think, in a lot of things, and it doesn't cost money to do it. And so, an example could be, just when you show up and feeling like a pro, you know what I mean? And having your kit like folded out, like little things like that, like go a long way. That doesn't cost money. But it takes, a really strong environment and a healthy environment to produce those kind of things that for us as players, like it sounds silly, but it really goes a long way. You know what I mean? It makes us, stop complaining about X, Y, and Z. And you're like, man, that's awesome. Like I come in and my kit's there and like, I just get to put it like it's things like that, that a lot of clubs, if they do the little things like that, and I've been fortunate, to be a part of clubs that do that, you know what I mean, that maybe haven't been in the best, financial situation, but have really gone above and beyond to, make sure that those little things are taken care of, and try their best to make players feel good, you know what I mean, and feel like professionals.
Yeah. So after, you have this Phoenix experience where maybe some of those things are starting to show up, that things aren't fitting right at the club, and then you go to Dayton and back to Arizona, what's kind of your thought process now? Because I feel as though maybe you've had this experience in Portland where you kind of made your break into the game, and then it's been a little bit of a topsy-turvy maybe season or two after that, kind of walk me through maybe what you're thinking as you've broken into the USL Pro, and now you've got to again pivot.
Yeah, I mean it's oh man, it's always tough. Like I think, for most players, you're always looking to, find a club and stay there. You know what I mean? To try and find the right fit, on the field, off the field, your living environment, the community, all that kind of stuff. And I think every player that comes into the league is fighting, for exactly that, to find
Mm.
that perfect fit. And to go from Phoenix that folded, and then going to Dayton that folded, and so two teams in a row that folded back to back, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I am like thinking I'm the unluckiest
Yeah.
soccer player of all time. And so it's tough because I was in a place at Phoenix, under Coach Davey Robertson, who's a Scottish legend. And at the time I was kind of in a super sub role, which was hard for me. I was young, you know what I mean, and I wanted to start every game, and but we had some insane talent on that team. I mean, guys that played with Neymar at Santos, and guys that played for Ajax with Zlatan, and like incredible talent. So you know but for me, David Robinson was huge for me. He did give me a lot of opportunities, and I think I would have been in the plans for year two. And it was tough. It was tough to have a coach that as a young player was giving me chances, and believed in me, and to have build up that relationship, and then have it be dismembered, if you will, and go to Dayton and have the exact same thing. I played for two coaches there. Sid Van Drunen, who's the guy that brought me there, and believed in me straight out of the gate. I was his guy. I was a starting every game, and someone he really really believed in. And it was a great part of the season. And then he unfortunately stepped down, and brought in this amazing coach in Matt Weston, who, oh my gosh, one of my favorite coaches I've ever played for. And I was playing some of my best football under him, and he carried us for the rest of the season. And I've never been so happy as a player. And um you know again, just flourishing under him. And then we get the news that the club wasn't going to continue. And it's heartbreaking. It takes the wind out of your sails for sure. And so, going from those situations from like really, really highs to crushing lows is, it's hard. It's really hard because I think as a player, you get this glimpse of like the dream, right? To
Yeah.
be in a place where you're really, really valued and you're, being utilized and you're making an impact on the field and in the community. And all of a sudden it's just like, boom, you got to start over. So it's tough. It's definitely tough. So for me, it was just like, I'd have my moment of, feeling sorry for myself and, I'd give it a day and then it's just like, okay, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to stop or are you going to go find another one? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that was kind of, that's how you have to take it, to continue to have a career, honestly.
Yeah, and as unfortunate as it is, I think in many ways the career that you've kind of had is maybe a bit more leaning towards the commonplace of what players in the level or two below the MLS kind of do in terms of their career, right? Where they have a little bit more of bouncing around. Like I know a former teammate of yours, Luke Pavone, who I just had on, he was kind of saying how he found exactly what you were just talking about in Richmond. Like he loves the city. The coaching staff believes in him. He can go in, he can enjoy his football, and he feels valued at the club. And that's why he's been able to stay there now for 4 seasons. But that's not really commonplace. I feel like from what I see on the outside looking in of the USL Championship or even USL League One and now NISA, whether it be because of the player's choice, they want to go and do something else, or whether it be from the club, maybe they're folding, maybe they're rebranding, maybe they're going into a different league, or just the club perspective of the coach decides to move on, or you get a new coach and they want new players being brought in. There's so many different factors that lead a player to move from club to club to club. And I'm sure not only from your experience, but also the guys that you talk to along your travels probably share in that experience as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's definitely, yeah, like Luke said, it's when you find a place like that, it's just like, this is why I do it. This is why I got up early mornings, and this is why I went to all the trials, and this is why, I did what I did, is to find things like this. And I think, you know, again, like you had mentioned before, it's just like, you could be one team away from having that opportunity and you just don't know, you know what I mean? And so, for when you see guys like Luke, I had the pleasure of playing with him. What a guy, by the way. But you see guys like that, and you see them, and it makes you hopeful because that's what you want. You know what I mean? That's the ultimate goal. And I've had multiple friends, that have played in multiple years at a team, and yeah, it's like that gives you the hope to continue to push on and continue to try and find that home, and but again, it's hard to find. It's not like we're the NFL and we get 5-year guaranteed contracts. You know what I mean? Like typically it's you have a 1-year contract plus a 2nd-year option. You know what I mean? And so it's essentially you hope that you do enough throughout the year, and you hope that the club is going in the right direction. But it's really just you have a year, and then it's just back to the drawing board again. So
let's take a quick break here to talk about support for the In the 11 podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you: 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code 11 at manscaped.com. Now, if my math is correct, that's about 8 million balls. So listen, gentlemen, here's the deal. The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and it is a game changer, right? I know we got a lot of ballers that are listening to this show right now. We got a lot of coaches that are listening to this show right now. And I'm sure you're saying in your training sessions, I'm sure you're saying in the games, we got to take care of the ball. Why would you not be applying that to your below the waist grooming as well? You got to take care of your balls as well. Luckily, the Performance Package 4.0 and Manscaped is here to help you. So first off, we've got the Lawnmower 4.0. It is the future of men's below the belt grooming. It's got advanced skin safe technology. It is waterproof. It has a 400K LED spotlight to get you that more precise shave. Say goodbye to the mess all over your bathroom floor. You can bring it in the shower with you. Like I said, it's waterproof, got the light, everything, no more mess, easy, done, right? Same thing goes for your weed whacker, the ear and nose hair trimmer. You've got that proprietary skin safe technology, which is going to help reduce nicks, snags, and tugs. It is also waterproof as well. Now, when it comes to your men's hygiene routine, when it comes to your ball routine, yeah, we got to talk about it, guys, because you got a routine for everything else, right? You've got a pregame routine, you got a postgame routine, you've got a recovery routine, but some of you might not have a routine for your balls, and you got to change that. So you got to get the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner. You don't want to be that one, right, that comes in after the match and you've played 90 minutes, maybe you played well, maybe you bagged a goal, right? And it's just an absolute jungle down there and you're trying to clean and it stinks and no. Gone are those days, right? And who knows? You got a special someone, came out to see you play, right? Maybe you bagged a goal, maybe you got a clean sheet, maybe it was your debut, right? You want to be ready because I don't know what's going to go down after that game. That's up to you. Now, with all of that good stuff that I've just mentioned to you there, Manscaped has also hooked you up because in the Performance 4.0 package, they have also thrown in some extra goodies for you. They've thrown in the Manscaped boxer briefs, and they've thrown in a Manscaped little travel tote bag for you to carry around all of your Manscaped products. So you're on the road, you've got an away day, you're on the bus, you've got something, and you're equipped to bring all of your products with you on the road. Time to take care of yourself. Your balls are going to thank you. You got to go to manscaped.com. You'll get 20% off and free shipping if you use our code here at In the 11 Podcast. Use code 11, ELEVEN, to get 20% off and free shipping. So that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code 11. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Yeah. And I mean, even that it's crazy to think about that you really have only the next 10 months, of your life kind of guaranteed or mapped out. Besides those lucky players who maybe get those 2-year guaranteed or beyond that, it's a daunting thing. You have to go in and perform, and these 10 months are going to decide what my next 10 months looks like. And then, just that cycle keeps repeating itself. In this process for you, while you're searching for that home for yourself, are we at the portion of your journey where you found your way into the NPSL or not quite yet?
No, I mean, I think for me, I'm still searching. I'm still searching. I'm still trying to play, at the highest level possible. I don't think that I've played my best football yet, and so for me, that's what I'm still chasing. Obviously, when you've had a career, that's been my everything essentially, and it's going to build, it's going to be the platform of what I do next. It needs to end in a good place. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm looking for. And, if that means I get, a 5-year deal and I get to, finish at, 40 years old at a team, that's great. But yeah, I think for me, no disrespect to the NPSL or any of those leagues, because I think, now they're really well-run leagues and they're definitely, good quality. But for me, it's just like, I'm going to continue to push for the highest possible level that I can, while I'm doing this, because otherwise for me, it's just like, if you're not going to go for, the highest level, then it's not a waste of time, but it's just like, then what are you really looking for? So for me, it's just like, it's all engines going straight ahead, you know what I mean? And my motivation is the same as it was when I was 20. So, it's, I want to, I'm still looking for that right fit, and I'm still, looking to, be in the environment where I can play my best football. And I feel like, once I'm able to find that and kind of have that satisfaction and that peace, that'll be the time where, maybe I'll wind it down and look to other things. So,
yeah.
So what were those moments like for you in your career when you maybe kind of on paper had to take a step down a little bit level wise to be able to then jump back up, maybe in your times when you went to Atlantic City or, Motown or something like that, where like we said, hypothetically you're looking at it and say, okay, this is a little bit of a drop down, but obviously it's with the goal of let me leverage this to then jump right back up. What are those times of your career like?
Yeah, I mean, it does take, a definite blow to your ego for sure. Like you have to check that, when you enter those situations because, when you're a professional player, it's just like you take pride in that. You take a lot of pride in that, and you work hard for that. And to have that, not be the case is painful. It's really, really painful. So, but again, it's that you get to that crossroads where, I have two choices. It's like I either, let these unfortunate mishaps bury me or, I keep fighting. And so for me, it's just like I'd go into those situations, and with the same exact attitude as I would if I was playing pro. It means it's no different. It's an opportunity to play, and you never know who's watching. You never know, who's connected in your coaching staff and what they might see. And so, when I've gone to those teams at quote unquote lower levels, if you will, I bring full professionalism. It's not a holiday. It's full go. You know what I mean? And you treat it, and you train and you prepare as as hard as you possibly can, and then you see where it gets you. You know what I mean? And then you, like I said, if you still have gas in the tank, you fight on, or you look to, maybe do other things. But for me, those opportunities, it's opportunity to stay relevant, really, because I
Mm.
mean, I think once you're in the pro circuit, if you will, the moment you stop playing at any competitive capacity, you're pretty much just done. So it's one of those things where it's like, is it the level you want to play sometimes? Maybe no, but it's keeping you in the game. You still have an opportunity if you're still playing and you're still fit and you're still able to get on the field and do your thing. There's always an opportunity. So to stay relevant in the game is crucial, because otherwise, when you stop and you're like, oh, it's below me or
Mm.
whatever, I'm just going to sit to the side and wait for, a big team to call, you're writing your death sentence essentially. So
Yeah, it's really true. And I kind of want to dive into this a little bit because I imagine there's probably players who have been in those same shoes before. Maybe they've gotten a contract or two at the USL level or whatever place they were at, and now maybe they're in a bit of a lull. And I kind of liken it to, you sort of, and I've heard this from other players as well, you sort of have to play hot potato with your career. You just have to keep it alive somewhere and find a team to keep playing and make it happen, because like we keep harping on here, you'll never know what's on the other side of that opportunity. Like for you, obviously, one might look at going to Atlantic City or Motown or something like that and be like, okay, he's now transitioning out of his career, but you then went on to sign another professional contract after that. But like you said, if that momentum had stopped, if that train had stopped continuing to go forward, that's a really hard place to come back from once you take 1, 2, 3, 4 months off of actually playing football. So, what was that process like for you? Was it a matter of, I just can't seem to get an opportunity at the professional level, and things aren't clicking right now, so let me go over here and I'll spend the summer doing this, and then boom, I'm right back at it after that?
yeah, I mean, I think, you have to, as a professional, you have to understand that, the game is subjective, right? So, you're going to go through different teams and, you're one coach's favorite player and you're the next coach's, you thinks you're terrible. So it's, you have to understand that. And I think, by continuing to stay sharp, continuing to build momentum, continuing to stay fit, you keep that opportunity alive to get in front of, a coach that values what you have. And I think that's the biggest thing that that has to be your motivator, because, there's a coach out there that loves what you bring. You know what I mean? Regardless of what you've been through, regardless of what coaches have said to you in the past that maybe, didn't value you. You have to have that hope, because that's what keeps you through those moments. You know what I mean? That you have to believe in the abilities that you have, and you have to believe that, there is a coach out there that really values what you bring. And, that at least for me is kind of what, gets me through those tough times, you know what I mean? And taking, like I said, taking one step back to take two forward type of deal. It's just, being able to, be present where you're at, and understand, your quality, and just be faithful that, it's around the corner type of deal. So it's definitely easier said than done, for sure, because you get in those moments just like, am I ever going to get, that that environment that suits me,
Mm.
and really gets to let me have that fairy tale ending. But I mean, it's something that's kept me going for a lot of years. So that's just kind of my motivation towards, any type of situation where you find yourself, potentially having to, go down to a lower league, and fight your way back up.
Yeah. And doing that process in America, I've talked to a lot of players that if they can't seem to quite get the traction that they want to in the States, they might try their luck overseas, maybe going to Europe or wherever, to see maybe if they can go, maybe start a lower league and maybe work their way up, and then kind of use that as their resume to come back over to the States. Was that ever something that you considered, or, what's your kind of experience with maybe some overseas opportunities or potentials?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something. Yeah, it's definitely something, that I think a lot of players look to. I think, in other countries overseas, there's a better platform to climb up
Mm.
the ranks, right? Because of promotion and relegation, and things like that. And I think in the US, it's a bit harder. Um, but yeah, I played in New Zealand for a couple months. Um, and that was something where, didn't really know much about it, to be honest, but I picked up, I was in preseason, um, in Harrisburg, and day one I picked up an injury. I got my ankle just absolutely torn apart, and so I was there, ended up staying there, trying to rehab through it. um, and eventually it was just a lot worse than what we thought. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to sign there at the time. And this other opportunity had come up in New Zealand, and uh, it was something that was totally obscure, and I didn't really know much about it. But it was something where, okay, it's an opportunity. You can go play in a different country. You can put it on your resume. You never know what that means to other people as it comes back. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't know if they value the level or not. But again, it was an opportunity definitely that definitely came up. And for me though, I think I always saw that as uh, kind of avoiding the hurdle, if you will. For me, it was just like running away a little bit. And there's so many of my friends that have had such cool careers in Europe and Asia, and in the Middle East, and all kinds of cool stuff. And for me, I just, as a kid growing up, like I just wanted to play professional in the US. You know what I mean? I didn't think about playing in the Premier League, or I didn't think about, going and playing in Sweden or something like that. And so I think that kind of just resonated through my whole career. Like I was just someone that, really wanted to make it in the US, and really, play in the MLS or play in the USL, and to do that. And that was always kind of my motivation. And so when opportunities kind of came up, to go try, that path, I just, I don't know. I was really hesitant. Because I was just like, that I want to battle it out. Like I want to, figure my way out of this mess, and I don't want to run away. You know what I mean? I want to, take the battle head on and stay here and grind it out and prove people wrong and do it here. So that was kind of my motivation. Whether that's the right one or not, I'll never know. But yeah, I mean, that was definitely there. There was a couple opportunities, to go over to Scandinavia, to go play and stuff like that, and to kind of go that route. And I definitely thought about it. Like I got together with the agents at the time and my family and stuff, and talked about it. And ultimately, my gut just wanted me to stay. Like just wanted me to stay and fight and battle and kind of go through the trenches here. And so, yeah, I know a lot of guys have done that, and it's really worked out for them. So it's definitely a viable option. I know nowadays it's a lot harder than it used to be to go over to those countries. I think they've kind of cracked down on the rules with foreigners and tried to make the leagues a little more domestic. So it's not as easy to get over to those countries and play as it used to be, but I know guys are still doing it, and it's still definitely a viable, opportunity.
So how do you look back at your New Zealand experience? Is it one that you think you gained a lot of value from, or was it just kind of an experience that was another chapter and it made you realize how much you missed home or wanted to come back, like you said, and grind it out at home?
Oh man, it was really mixed for me, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not really a world traveler type of guy, so everyone was super excited for me when it happened because they're like, "Oh my gosh, you get to see this country and blah 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 blah." And I was just like, I could care less. Like, I just want to play at the highest level I possibly can. And so, you could call that naive, I guess, because it is an unbelievable country. The people I met there were some of the most kind and amazing people I've ever met. My host family there was just, oh my gosh, they just became family to me. They were so incredibly good to me. And the country itself was amazing. The football was not what I was looking for, unfortunately. It was, the money was good, but it was not the level that I had hoped. And, so ultimately I ended up coming back, in July. I think I went there in February and ended coming back to the States in July, and then ended up, coincidentally signing with Harrisburg, where I was, before.
Mhm.
So, it was something that, when I went there, I don't think that I really had the aspirations of being a, New Zealand footballer for the rest of my life, or, like really, trying to, get to the A League or anything over there. And, I think it was just something where, I wanted to go do my best, and always had my eye, back in the States, because I think ultimately that's where I wanted to be.
Yeah, makes sense. It was one thing that I did want to ask you about, as you've kind of seen the whole gamut of levels and leagues, and especially the United States. And obviously, you mentioned there in New Zealand that the money was pretty decent, and you can, go into as little or as much detail as you want on this, but can you help kind of to contextualize to the listeners what some of these contracts might look like in terms of, I talked to a lot of players, and for example, even, Luke the other day, he was still going after training. He was still going that night to go and do coaching. Like, that's still kind of, whether that be out of that's just what you'd love to do, or whether that be kind of still out of necessity to be able to put a whole compensation package together for yourself. What can you say maybe about what the financial side of the game looks like for a player kind of grinding it out and chasing the dream?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're going into pro soccer hoping to retire a millionaire, you should probably think of something else. But no, I mean, it's yeah, it's definitely better now. You know what I mean? I think the standards are definitely, growing. They're getting better. But when right before I was getting into the pro level, I had a friend that playing in the MLS, and he had a part-time job at a coffee shop. you know what I mean, to try and, make do. And yeah, I mean, I think, it's actually in a lot of ways a really cool, life skill, to be honest with you, to be in the USL. And it all depends, right? If you're scoring 20 goals a year, you're going to be looking at a solid contract, and you're going to not have any worries, and you're going to be okay. And I think the majority, it's like I said, it's a good life skill, because you go into a situation, and you get offered a salary that's, it's not going to cut it. You know what I mean? It's just not going to cut it. And so being able to be resourceful and figure out how to make it work, you know what I mean, is such a important thing that goes beyond soccer. And it's actually, it's been crucial for me. It's been something that I've got really good at, because I've been put in situations throughout my career where, it's just like, okay, like, here's the offer, take it or leave it. You know what I mean? And so you have to go back to yourself and think like, okay, can I afford to do this? You know what I mean? Can I live? You know, and you're like, well, if I don't take this, like, am I done? So it's like, you come to that point where, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? And, you know, if it means enough to you, you'll figure it out. You know what I mean? You'll figure it out, and you'll do coaching, and you'll get a job, or you'll do whatever you have to do. And I think, for me, it's never been a hesitation. You know what I mean? Because in my opinion, money's going to come. You know what I mean? I'm going to retire from soccer one day, and life will be good. You know what I mean? I'll be okay. And so, but why I'm playing, it's, kind of like I alluded to before, like, a lot of us that are in, the USL, and sometimes even the MLS, we're not doing it to get the big paycheck. I think there's some that are definitely, that's the motivation. But I think for a lot of us, it's just like, we're doing it because we love the game, and we love to play, and we love, how it feels to see your name on the back of your jersey, and to be a pro, and to train every day, and those type of things make you kind of be resourceful and figure it out. And so I've had so many, different experiences where I've done the most ridiculous things to make it work. You know what I mean? Like, there's one team where I was, yeah, I mean, there was one team where I was mowing lawns. Like, I was mowing lawns. I would come home from training, and we lived in this community, and yeah, like, we rented this lawnmower, and we literally went house to house, and we mowed lawns. Like, there's all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. Obviously, coaching is definitely a viable option. It's a really good way to get involved in the community, which, as I've gotten older, has been super cool. Super cool for me to get involved in the community. I was really involved in Richmond, with Lukey as well. We were both coaching, for the clubs there. And it's so cool. It's so cool to get involved in the community, and have those kids come to your games and get so excited to see you under the lights, and that kind of thing, and to see in the crowd them going crazy. Like, it's cool. It's like having an extended family. And so, um, that has been, something that's been a really good supplementation, for me, over the years, is trying to get involved in the coaching, and that kind of thing. But I've definitely done some weird stuff outside of soccer to keep me afloat, for sure.
Yeah, but I love the way you phrase it, though, because it is kind of that, especially in the early stages of your career, or at certain levels, it's that take it or leave it contract. Because the reality
Yeah.
is, on the other side of that, there are 1,000 other people that are trying to get that one piece of paper that you were just handed.
Yeah.
So there really isn't quite that same room, unless you are that proven player, as you mentioned before. There isn't really quite that same room for you to come back to the negotiating table when they're like, dude, I've got, 5,000 guys that want exactly the position that you're in right now. So it's true. You gotta kind of take it or leave it, as you said. And it's, if you really want this, if you're willing to go and mow the lawns after training to be able to make it work, then okay, buckle up and away we go.
Yep. That's it. That's it. It's definitely, it just depends, like it does come harder sometimes because you'll have good seasons and you'll get that paycheck, like I've had that throughout my career where, you're off the back of a good season and you get a good paycheck and it's, it's flattering, it feels good. And then again, you maybe go to a team where, they pay you well and, the coach just, you don't fit his plans and, you don't play throughout the year and then next season, it's like, you don't really have a bargaining chip, so it's a tough one, but I mean, I think as long as your, foundations are concrete, like what's important to you, like, it always comes down to that. And I think for me, it's always been rock solid with that kind of stuff. So, it's those things have been uncomfortable, no question, but, it was always an easy decision. I always bet on myself, in those situations. Like if, it's, a tough contract where you're gonna, struggle, I'll always back myself to go into those situations and prove myself. So like I said, it's uncomfortable, but it's a situation that I never bothers me really.
Mm. You alluded to before that you had to stop in Richmond with the Richmond Kickers, and I saw that you wrote something kind of, because this was somewhat recently where you had signed that contract with them, that was one of the biggest moments of your professional career. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit? Why that opportunity was so special to you?
Yeah, I mean, it was, oh my gosh, it was I mean, first of all, the history with that club is, insane. When I came into the league, they're one of the only clubs that are still here today, and, the stadium, the community, they've had such a rich history of doing well and having good teams. And, it's one of those games every season that you'd circle on the calendar and be like, man, I got to get up for this one. Like you're under the lights, like you're in the stadium. Like it was one of those where, yeah, when I got that opportunity, it was just like, oh my gosh, like it was unbelievable. And, it was, unfortunately it was, I didn't, fit necessarily what, was happening on the field, but man, to be a part of that club was, something I'll never forget. It was really bittersweet, when I left, and it hurt a lot because there's the most amazing people throughout the organization and the community, and my teammates, oh my gosh, like one of the best locker rooms, like those guys, man, we went through a lot. And so it was, yeah, it was something that, if you look at, my career path, like it wasn't the most fruitful season for me in terms of, getting on the field and contributing. But, it was something that I don't necessarily think I would change because I got to be a part of a really historic club and and meet some people there that are unbelievable. And honestly, that season, taught me a lot about myself because I went through, probably the most rock bottom point of my career, and being able to hit that and then climb back out was something that really sharpened me as a person, you know what I mean, and really made me understand myself, as a player, and understand my motivations, for a lot of things. So so I was so grateful for that opportunity, and to be a part of that club was just so special to me. So
Yeah, was that because I saw, you wrote a little bit too about how 2021 was a really difficult year, and was part of that. I mean, I'm sure obviously there's an element of COVID being involved in that made 2021 not an easy year for a lot of people out there. So I'm sure that kind of added something to that fire for you. But was part of it the playing that just didn't seem to be able to get the role that you were looking for in Richmond, or were there kind of just a lot of factors that all converged in that year, making it so difficult and hitting that rock bottom point, as you mentioned?
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, being a part of clubs and, with the staff, it's subjective, like there's just, you go into situations where, obviously you hope for the best, but you get there and you're just, it's just, they're looking for something different. And that's just football, you know what I mean? And, it's not, anything, that's any different anywhere else, you know what I mean? And so obviously being in that situation where, there's amazing players around me, don't get me wrong, but, I just wasn't in the plans, and that's what it was. And, to be someone like myself who, won't settle for that, you know what I mean? I don't settle for that. And so, I worked incredibly hard when I was there, trying to do every possible thing I could to make a difference. And, it just, like I said, just wasn't meant to be there. But again, through that process, you go through some crazy head games, and you get into some low places, and, and essentially you're on your own. You know what I mean? I mean, for some guys, they have their wives and their girlfriends there. And unfortunately mine, has a job back home, so she's not able to come. And my family's on the other side of the country. And so, you're on your own, and you have to deal, and you have to figure it out. And, everyone has their different vices and different ways to do it. And, for me, in those situations, it's always, to train harder and to work harder and to do more, and, yeah, I was exhausting myself, beyond, belief. And, it was definitely something that, you know, took me down a spiral, if you will. Like I really saw some depths, to my life there. But like I said, it was a blessing though, because I was able to get to that point and understand it, and be able to climb back out, and to come out in a really strong place. And so I'm forever grateful for what I had to go through there, and for, like I said, for the opportunity to say that I played for that amazing club. Because that club, I mean, it was, when I had to leave, it literally it tore my heart out. Like it was tough. It was really tough.
Yeah, I think you had kind of a, a pattern of events maybe that a lot of players go through. I think so many players, when they face hardship in their life, or whether it be on the pitch or off the pitch, they turn to football to be that solace for them, as you mentioned, to be that vice, and they double down and they triple down on their training. And it's funny. I think a lot of times we look at it and we're like, well, it's way better than drinking or doing drugs or anything like that. And there's some truth to that too. But then I think sometimes it might teeter a little bit into like a sort of unhealthy relationship with the game, an unhealthy relationship with football. And you put so much pressure on it, you put so much pressure on yourself, and you can get into, as you mentioned, those dark spirals. I've certainly been there as well. I know I talked to a lot of other players as well who have been at points in their career where they're like, they've poured everything into the game, and now they're at a situation where they're like, they don't even understand which way is up, like they're just,
Yep.
they just
That's a great explanation. Yeah, no, it's definitely, I think, when you get into those situations, no matter what your vice is, it's probably not healthy. You know what I mean? And it was, it was just something for me that, like, I've kind of, it's just kind of been my go-to for my life. And it's just kind of something where, it's, I kind of get into a space where it's just like, I go, I get in the gym, I go on the field, and I just get into this space where it's just like, get to work. You know what I mean? And it's always been my vice, you know what I mean? And so, again, it like I said, it definitely, with all vices, I don't think it's necessarily healthy, because, sometimes, you can, be secluded sometimes, and isolate yourself a little bit. And I think, it can be perceived as, something different than what it is. You know what I mean? I mean, I think, for a player like myself, it's like it has nothing to do with anything else other than it's just the only way I know how to cope. You know what I mean? It's just I want to work. I want to be, alone essentially, and try and just manage my thoughts. Like I don't want to go to a teammate and just blab about all the things that are going wrong, or or stress to my parents or my girlfriend, because they're normal people with normal jobs. They have the same stresses and hardships that I have. It's no different. So for me, it's just like I don't want to bring, when I speak to my loved ones or my teammates, I don't want to throw my negativity on whatever they have going on. Like I want to have an exchange. I want to enjoy people's company. And so, like I said, with my vice, like sometimes it can be perceived as, an isolation or something, that's maybe not conducive to a unit. But, I think for me, it's just been, always something that I've gone to. Like I've always just had to kind of rely on me. And it's just the way that I've got through, tough situations. And I felt like it was, in a lot of cases, it's the most effective way, because I think a lot of times when things are rough for you, you can spread negativity. And I've been in locker rooms where, that can spread like a virus, you know what I mean? And it can really, bring things down. And ultimately as a soccer player, you want to be a good person. You know what I mean? You don't want to be someone that's doing those kind of things. And so, I pride myself on that. I want to be a good person. And so to avoid, situations like that, I kind of internalize a little bit and deal with it in that way, so that, when I'm with my teammates or, with my family, then I can be the Cam that everybody knows, so, so again, like I said, I mean, not all vices have their downfalls, but that's kind of the one that I've used, and whether it's right or wrong, I guess it's kind of what I go to. So
if it works, right?
yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess you could ask. It's all a matter of opinion, right? Some people, could say I'm a nut job. Other people could say it works. So I don't know.
So I think at the point we are now, along your story, we just mentioned the Richmond kind of chapter. Is your time out in San Diego what leads us to now, current chapter? Was that after Richmond, correct?
Yeah, so there was an opportunity that came up in NISA, for the end of the season. And it was, for me, I was in a situation at Richmond where it just didn't look like I was ever really going to break through, to be honest with you. And, obviously being later in my career, it's, you have to stay relevant, because, being in a situation where, you're not playing, or there's lags between playing as an older player, it's like your clock is ticking, you know what I mean? Whether you're, you look after your body and you're fit as can be and you can play the game, at a certain time, they just start looking at the numbers. Oh, well, you're this many years old, so we don't really care. So as for me, it was a situation where an opportunity came up, in NISA and, in San Diego, and they were like, listen, like we need help, and you're someone that's going to come in and play right away and play for the rest of the season. And, it was tough, like I said, it was honestly heartbreaking to leave Richmond. It really was. Like, oh man, it was tough, but I knew, for me, it was just like, I owe it to myself to finish my career in the way that I hope, you know what I mean? Or at least try. And, it was an opportunity where, I was going to go and I was going to play. And, I spoke with my family and, and my agent and stuff. And it just seemed like the right move, to try and go get me games and to try and, get film and that kind of thing. And just, get on the field and, be relevant. So yeah, it was end of the season move. It was definitely hard. But again, I think it was good for me. It got me a lot of game time, and it was a tough situation. They were in a tough way when I got there, and you know, ended up, rebranding, so
Yeah.
my curse is still intact, but they, but no, now they're up as, a new franchise and things like that. But no, it was something that, it made sense at the time. It was definitely not an easy thing to do, but, it made sense for me in my career. And I feel, like I owed it to myself to try and, you know, finish my career with that, that good feeling, that you feel satisfied with your career and you really, you know, you feel that peace, right? To go on and move on to the next chapter. Because I think, just having, been in the pro level for so long, you just see so many players and friends that, have gotten a situation that just, wasn't ideal, and they just got fed up, and, they decided to choose to do other things, and they have to live with that regret, of like, man, could I have, you know, hung in there, or could I have, was that next opportunity the next door? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think for me that's my biggest fear, is to live with that regret, and not having, played my best football, and not having, you know, put the put the final cap on the all the hard work that I've done throughout the years. And so, that's kind of, the motivation, and that was kind of, I think, what put me over the edge to go and try and go, get some games and get some experience there. So.
Mm. So as we kind of come to a culmination here, talk to me a little bit about where you're at now and what you're doing, what's the current situation, and maybe also if you have an idea of what is that, what is that kind of picture perfect, that thing that you like, this is the thing, the missing piece of my career, the missing piece to that puzzle. Because I think that's something that sounds like you're kind of trying to articulate what it is that you still need to kind of pull out of your career for you to feel like, okay, I've done what I need to do in the game. Have you thought about that, or is that something that you're just enjoying the process, enjoying football, and you'll figure out that decision when it comes?
It's a little bit of both, to be honest. I mean, I think, definitely the goal for me now is, now I'm currently with One Knox in USL2 right now, and it's a new franchise in USL2, and they're, looking to go USL League One next year. And so, it was an opportunity to me, for me to be a part of something at the grassroots, to kind of to be here and to help in any way that, they need, on the field, off the field, just trying to use some of the experiences I've had with different clubs to try and do my best to help, make it as successful as possible. And then also, provides a place and a platform for me to, to stay relevant and to continue to train hard and continue to, be in front of coaches like, like Mark McKeever here, who is, I mean, his resume speaks for himself. He won USL League Two last year, and anywhere he goes, he wins. And he's been someone that's just really respected, I think, in the USL. And so it's just to train for him every day, and just to show, my work rate and my quality and those kind of things to someone of that caliber is, I'm really excited to be here, and hopefully, going forward, I can this could be a home for me, and it could be that fairy tale ending, but obviously football throws in twists and turns that you can never expect, but yeah, I mean, that's the hope, for me here. And I think, I don't necessarily put a time limit on myself, because I'm really just looking for that feeling. You know what I mean? And like I said, it could come in, if it comes next year and I feel it, and that's great. Then I'll put a cap on it. But if that comes in 3 years, then it's something that is going to have a lasting effect, on my life beyond soccer. With my family, with my girlfriend and my nieces and all the people around me, that, you can't hold on to that, that hurt, or that, regret, you know what I mean? Because it stays with you, and it affects your relationships going forward. And for me, I think soccer is, and definitely professional soccer has been such a big part of my life that, and I've put just so many countless hours that, I owe it to myself to continue to put myself through the ringer, to find that team and that opportunity to, be in a situation where, I fit what they're looking for in terms of on the field stuff, and, I'm, in the plans and that kind of thing. And I could help off the field too, to be in the community and coach or be help in the office or do whatever, the club, needs. And so, that's kind of where I'm at now. And, again, if, this club has been, I mean, oh my gosh, unbelievable. One of the most professional clubs I've ever seen in terms of how they run things and, how they take care of players and, the training sessions and all that stuff. And so, I'm really, really happy to be here. And again, it's just, an opportunity for me to, to showcase myself and hopefully, if you find a home here, then that would be ideal. But if not, just to be able to play, for, highly respected coaches here, to potentially be a platform to go get that opportunity that I've been looking for. And so, that's kind of where I am now. And again, I mean, the hunger now is the same when I was 20, and it's, there's no thought of anything else, because I think if you're not fully invested, then you're not going to find your best, and I think for me, it's, I'm fully invested, obviously, on my times when I get to take a break, I'm planning for things beyond, but, while you're in it, it's just like, it's full go, so that's kind of where I am now. And it's been, up to now, it's been a great experience here. They've treated me really well. And like I said, the professionalism here is amazing. So, it's been fun to be a part of.
Awesome. Well, I'm really happy to hear that. I really hope that this is the opportunity that kind of, whether it formulates here or it leads to that next step, I hope that you are able to kind of achieve what you're looking to in your career. And I can't thank you enough for coming on today, sharing your story. I know that people are going to get a lot of value from it. I know I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed kind of breaking it down with you. So thank you very much.
Awesome. No, thank you for having me. It's always fun to reminisce about old times and just kind of, talk about my journey and ultimately, I want to give back. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's a lot of people that have helped me, throughout my career. I mean, be it teammates and coaches and agents and friends and family. Like there's so many people that have kept me going and that have helped me through tough times and gave me great advice. And I'm forever grateful for that. And I think whenever there's a platform for me to do the same, I love taking those opportunities, because at the end of the day, when my career is over, you know what I mean, I think it's wrong not to share things and be able to help people conquer obstacles in their career and life too. You know what I mean? I mean, because at the end of the day, we're human beings. You know what I mean? And a lot of the things that we learn via sports is applies to life. So I think any opportunity that I can have to give back and maybe give some insights to something that's worked for me that can work for someone else is always an opportunity I'll take. So
Yeah. I think I kind of harp on it on here sometimes, that there's so many different kind of blueprints of how to go about becoming a pro, staying a pro, right? And so I hope by sharing a lot of these stories like this, somebody out there can understand that there is a alternative route, whatever situation they might be in now, there's a way for them to go about it if they want to try and achieve the dream. Because, as I'm sure as I know, there's 1,000,001 different ways to try and go about being a professional and getting a contract or getting your next contract. So hopefully you can learn some things of what to do, and also kind of maybe not to do. Maybe you'll see things, that's why we kind of be as transparent as we can to show, yeah, when I did this, I wouldn't recommend doing that again.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, there's, I think everyone sees, the direct A to B, right? Go to college, get drafted, sign MLS, right? And everyone's like, oh, that's how easy it is, And for those, fortunate enough to do that, I mean, that's awesome, but that's not the majority, unfortunately. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to go your way for that to happen. And, for the rest of us, it's a windy road, and I think ultimately, for the players that are looking to go, to the pro level, you have to come in with, rock solid foundations. You have to know that, okay, come hell or high water, I'm going to do this, you know what I mean? And I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to get through it. And I have something to prove, and I believe in myself, and, yeah, because it'll challenge you. It'll challenge you, and it'll challenge a lot of your values. But I think if your core value is rock solid, it makes those decisions and that journey all worth it for sure.
Yeah. Perfect way to wrap it up. Once again, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course, anytime.
That's going to do it for this week's episode. I want to thank Cam again for chatting about his career with me. And I want to thank all of you out there who are listening. And as I said at the top, I would encourage you, whatever platform you are listening on, whether you're listening or watching, please subscribe to the show. It helps the show grow tremendously. Next week, we got another really good one coming up with actually a national championship winning coach at the collegiate level. So stay tuned for that one and be on the lookout. Thank you all so much, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.